Parents with nanny cams. What have you caught your babysitter doing? Story 1. I has dog sit for friends of my parents. The first time I did it, they mentioned they had a security camera by the front door that was motion activated, and I didn't really think anything of it. They were gone for a few weeks, they come home. Their two giant huskies are happy, I get paid and all was well. A couple weeks later my mom calls me laughing. My parents had dinner with the friends. I dog sit for and they showed a video to my parents from the front door cam. Apparently all it showed was me sprinting full speed down the hallway, a dog toy in hand, biggest stupid grin on my face, followed by the two huskies running and sliding after me, followed by the huskies, over and over again. I sit for them as often as I can. Story 2. Watch her outside playing with my dogs. She was dog sitting. Our yellow Labrador and golden retriever puppy started munching the blueberries right now off our blueberry bushes. They know damn well they're not supposed to get into the blueberry patch. We watched our dog sitter run over to them and try to get them to stop. She then ran inside and ran back out with a bowl. She proceeded to race the dogs for the blueberries. Had to be one of the highlights of our trip. We came home to a bowl of blueberries in the fridge and to very guilty puppers. Story 3. My story isn't that interesting, but I have a camera to check in on my rabbit when I'm not there. The biggest surprises were mostly just how almost nobody followed my pet sitting instructions. The one exception, ironically, was my brother, who claimed to hate the rabbit and always wanted to get rid of it. I got an alert one day that my camera had detected movement while my bro was there taking care of him, and I decided to take a peek. I opened the app connected to the camera and saw my bro walk into my room, lay on the floor, and start playing with my rabbit. It just warmed my heart. Story 4. I dog sit for some neighbors, one of which told me she has a camera in the living room, dining room for her dogs. You know those ones that dispense treats? Anyways, I thought it was a strange essential oil diffuser until she told me what it was. I was being paid to play with them for an hour, but she found out that I was actually staying for 2 or 3 hours. When she asked me about it, I think I said something like, I'd want someone to do the same for my dog. Ever since then she leaves me treats in the kitchen, and even got me a Christmas present from the dogs. Story 5. I was the kiddo. My mom often tells the story of how she watched me give a big ol' hug to my babysitter, who just broke down out of nowhere after serving me lunch. Turns out her dad had died a month back and it just wasn't a good day for her. I still remember you, Ms. Yancey. I hope you're doing just fine now. Story 6. Not me, but my aunt's friend set up a nanny cam because she noticed that every time she changed her child's diaper, the child would start crying a lot more than usual. Turns out when they watched the nanny change her diaper, she would use Clorox wipes if they were nearby instead of grabbing the baby wipes. Story 7. Friends of ours don't have kids but have dogs. They were going out of town and told the dog sitter about all of the cameras, including the one that is outside, but sometimes picks up reflections and will actively notify them of motion. The dog sitter seemed to get it, but she forgot to convey that to her boyfriend, who came out and walked around naked quite a bit. Story 8. I got a nanny cam to keep an eye out for my elderly grandfather, especially when the home aides were there. My grandfather started asking for lots of cash and couldn't remember what was happening to it. A brooch that my aunt was supposed to get disappeared. And then I heard reports of my grandfather being inappropriate with some of the home health aides. He was busted squirreling away his medication that he was supposed to be taking in his chair, giving money to an aide and harassing another aide. Story 9. We didn't have a nanny cam, but my mom set up the camcorder when she suspected our babysitter was stealing, and then caught the babysitter stealing. She returned most of the stuff when my mom threatened to report her to the police. I think she should still have reported her anyway. Now she probably just went on stealing at other people's places. Story 10. My family bought one to see our dogs when we leave on vacation twice a year. It's one where they can hear us, and we thought it'd be great. We hardly used it. We also asked our maid to dog sit for us while we were out. Once when we looked at the feed, We saw the dog sitter there a solid 30 minutes early, just petting the dogs and playing with them. She's since retired from working, but she was the sweetest old lady and we love her. Another time my dad left a wad of cash on top of the washing machine, about $600. And she put a rubber band around it with a note saying he misplaced it. Story 11. My uncle told me this once, when a babysitter was holding his daughter, my older cousin, when she was a baby. The baby was playing with her toys, and she somehow swallowed a small piece of something and the babysitter performed the Heimlich. But for babies there's a version of that for babies 8 where I found it though. She saved my cousin and her family was thankful. They have no idea where the babysitter is now, but right now she's supposed to be around her late 40s. Story 12. I've been a pretty regular weekend nanny for an amazing family for 4 years now. They've cycled through a couple different weekday nannies since I've been with them. There is only one monitor and it's in the little dude's room. Once the mom showed me on the camera why they let one go. Little dude said, "Mommy said I don't have to do that." And the nanny snapped back, "Well, it doesn't matter, mommy is a bitch." And then dragged the kid out of the room by his shirt. Super fired. Story 13. We have a security camera in my bedroom for my free roam bunny, so we can keep an eye on her whilst on work if we go on holiday ect. Well, my dad is 50 and is a big bloke who acts like he doesn't like pets. Came over to visit one day. Whilst I was out, he went in my room and crouched down calling the bunny. He spent an hour trying to pet the rabbit and kept repeating in a soft voice, "I'm not going to hurt you, I just want to pet you and see how fluffy you are." He just about shit himself when I spoke through the security camera to tell him she's very fluffy. Story 14. Well, a case which happened near where I live. Woman used to work, husband out of country, had a 2-year-old kid. They hired a nanny to look after him during daytime. Day by day kid started looking malnourished, so she set up a spy cam. Apparently the lady used to bring her kid and feed him all the food left for the kid she was supposed to babysit. Then she would feed the kid cheap biscuits. She was promptly handed over to police. Story 15. Wish I had a nanny cam. My stepsister was watching my brother with disabilities for me. She would dump out the contents of his capsules meds and use them later. Didn't find out about it till he started having seizures constantly and ended up in the hospital for the second time. Story 16. I travel the US for work, and I am fortunate enough to be able to bring my 2 beagles with me. They have never been away from my side longer than the time I've been at work. They are 10 and 13. I have a camera that I use to check in on them sometimes, mostly because my larger beagle is quite the ingenious guy, opening doors, scooting chairs over places so he can jump up onto the counters. Last year I was in Oregon and had to go home to Michigan for an emergency. I do not fly with them, I will only drive. So I was in a pickle and reluctantly hired someone off of Rover that was willing to come stay over at my hotel room for 3 days. She was great, kept up on texting me about the dogs, said things like tossing them a ball right now, so I would check in via the cam when I thought it was appropriate. This woman was amazing. Not only was she playing with them enough to make them exhausted, she was even teaching them new tricks, making them use their brains to solve puzzles, and even got my 40-pound beagle to get up on her back so she could do push-ups. She was an avid CrossFitter. Story 17. The family I nanny for told me that their previous nanny got caught doing loads of awful things. The couple that outraged me most were one, leaving their 3-year-old daughter in the tub with water up to her chest for 2 hours every day, while she sat in another room unable to see said child. And 2 once she went to run an errand with the same kid, and their doorbell camera caught her putting kid in car seat, not buckling her, and peeling off. The mom said you could see toddler trying to buckle herself in before they took off. Story 18. I was the child and there weren't any nanny cams, but my parents had left a small bucket of toys and things to keep me busy, and they hired a babysitter to watch me while they both had to take overtime at work and knew they would be gone most of the day. The babysitter moved that bucket of toys to another room, put me in a crib and proceeded to go off and read or something, and left me there for hours with nothing to do, only coming back to check on me or feed me. My parents came back to me just sadly sitting in my crib. Story 19. I have cameras all over the inside and outside of my house. It's standard with a Ring doorbell. Next came critter cams I put near my bird feeders. Then cameras everywhere. I use them mostly to look for the wild bunnies in my yard, and to see the owl leave its roost at night. The indoor cameras are dog cameras. My wife and I use them to view and talk to our dogs while at work. The weirdest thing I've caught my dog doing. I had made a batch of jerky, put it in a large Ziploc bag, and place it in the dining room table in preparation for a camping trip. My 19-pound Shih Tzu, which is large for its zoo, was caught on video moving a dining room chair, jumping up onto it, then jumping onto the table. He ate the entire bag of jerky, leaving only the bag. He did this in less than 10 minutes. Story 20. I was the babysitter who was caught. It actually wasn't a nanny cam, but a security cam pointed to their back door. They caught me walking outside to smoke a bowl of their weed, while the baby was down for a nap. Not my proudest moment, but we're friends. And they didn't give a damn about the weed. They just thought it was hilarious when I started talking to the dog about how great the weather was. Story 21. Not a nanny cam because this happened in the 90s. And I don't think we had them in Scotland then, but my mom came home early one day because she had become suspicious of our nanny, as my sister and I never slept after a day with her. She found both my sister and I in bed in the middle of the day. Turned out my nanny had been dosing us up with child medicine to make us sleep all day so she could sit and do nothing.